Hello and welcome to the Bot Box. So in the Bot Box we talked about a lot of flippers. Expect some more after this one. Mute, a silver coloured wedge armed with a very powerful front hinge flipper and a rear hinge flipper at the back. How powerful? Well, you'll see. Mute tried to qualify for Series 4, 5, 6 and 6 of Robot Wars, but failed each and every time. So when we finally got on Robot Wars, it was in the second series of Extreme 2, where it entered, fittingly for it, the New Blood tournament. It landed in Heat A, where it drew Horizontal Spinner Terra Turtle and Flipper Rhubarb. Mute managed to cause Jonathan Pierce to forget that front-hinged flippers had been a thing for a while. Don't ask me how. Mute made target of Terra Turtle, it being in possession of a spinner, but missed its first flip. Rhubarb flipped Terra Turtle instead, so Mute went after Rhubarb and flipped it over, right in front of dead metal. Rhubarb self-righted. Mute used Rhubarb to open the pit by pushing it into the pit release. Rhubarb retaliated by pushing back. The two separated for a chase, and Rhubarb rated Terra Turtle, managing to pin the turtle to a wall in the process. Because of the nature of the spinner managed to hook the wall. Oops. Meanwhile, Rhubarb tried to flip Mute and failed. Mute missed a flip and drove away into the pit. It was fortunate for Mute that Terra Turtle had already been immobilised and had been deemed to be immobilised first, so Mute got through. Next up was Spikebot Mr. Nasty, who Team Mute said they'd flip out of the arena and had the power to do so. It missed with its first flip, but found its mark with its second flip, flipping Mr. Nasty over. Mr. Nasty, being invertible, could still run, but its driving was seriously compromised. Mr. Nasty drove in and out of a corner patrol zone and was saved only by its speed. Mute flipped Mr. Nasty twice more and rammed the Spikebot, even using its flipper as a ram. Mute then opened the pit while Sergeant Bash and the ref bot had a fight. It's just what we need, putting the main fight out of focus. Mr. Nasty drove into dead metal, escaped, but Mute sent Mr. Nasty right back. Mr. Nasty was being cooked as time ran out and the judges were called in. They ruled in favour of Mute. Next up, in the heat final, was Rhubarb again. Mute managed to flip Rhubarb, but Rhubarb self-righted very quickly. So Mute got in underneath Rhubarb and took it to the edge of the arena and very nearly got Rhubarb out. Then Rhubarb self-righted its way back in. After that, Rhubarb flipped Mute. Mute had a harder time self-righting, mainly because Rhubarb was smothering it and wouldn't let Mute self-right, but once Mute had a second to breathe, it got back on its wheels. Soon after, Mute carried Rhubarb around the arena and opened the pit, trashing the pit release tower in the process, the vandals. Mute then carried Rhubarb to the house robots, and Rhubarb got axed and escaped, not liking the idea of being axed. It damaged Rhubarb's nice shiny holograms. The two danced around each other after that until time ran out, Mute ending the fight stuck on the flame pit, which is not a good look. Not the last impression you want to show the judges. But the judges ruled in favour of Mute anyway. So that sent Mute through to the New Blood Grand Final, where it faced vertical spinner Cedric Slammer. The two danced around each other, or rather Mute danced around Cedric Slammer, trying to get under at the sides to flip Cedric Slammer over, and thus not get injured by Cedric's spinner. Cedric Slammer had more success getting attack on Mutin, using a similar method to Mute, going into the sides. Mute flipped Cedric Slammer aside. Then Mute stopped. It woke up just in time, but stopped dead again. Cedric Slammer was also barely alive. The ref bot counted someone out. Mr. Psycho carried Cedric Slammer as time ran out on the fight. The judges ruled that it was a double knockout, very rare in Robot Wars, and had to step in to make a decision on who won before both robots died. They ruled in favour of Mute. So that put Mute in contention for being seeded in Series 7. Only Full Body Hammer Storm 2 stood in its way. Mute escaped and missed a chance. Mute tried to avoid Storm 2 early on, but Storm 2 went round to Mute's sides and pushed Mute around. Mute escaped and missed a chance to flip Storm 2, driving too close to dead metal at one point. They did pin Storm 2 to a wall and pushed the full body hammer around for a bit, but Storm 2 then did the same to them. It turned into a chase via dancing, Storm 2 appearing to leak ominous smoke. The action took both close to dead metal, but both escaped, and Storm 2 pushed Mute some more. Mute escaped and flipped Storm 2, but Storm 2 landed on its wheels. After some more pushing of Mute by Storm 2, Mute flipped Storm 2 again. This time, Storm 2 landed upside down. Time ran out soon afterwards and the judges were called in. They ruled in favour of Storm 2. Mute still got into Series 7 anyway, but not as a seeded robot. They were unseeded, and landed in Heat L, drawing Horizontal Spinner Demolition Man, Ring Spinner Corkscrew 2, and Flipper Judge Shred 3. Mute went straight for Demolition Man, sending the barely mobile spinner straight to shunt. Deal with it quickly. Mute then went for Corkscrew 2, as had Judge Shred 3, both flipping the ring spinner, Judge Shred 3 getting more flips in. Judge Shred 3 flipped Demolition Man and Mute got the spinner on its side. Demolition Man, that is, obviously. As Demolition Man was counted out, Judge Shred 3 flipped Corkscrew 2 out of the arena. The merciful thing to do. Mute annoyed Shunt as Demolition Man was pitted. Next up was 10th seeded Bulldozer Oza Behemoth, whose team captain really didn't want hexings after what happened to Behemoth in the previous two series, namely Behemoth ending up in the pit. The two robots danced around each other at first, trying to find an angle of attack. Mute got in underneath Behemoth first, but Behemoth got Mute flipped. So Mute self-righted, hitting Behemoth mid-flight. That got stuck. It got Behemoth stuck in forward drive, and not just forward drive, fast as well. In a desperate bid to get free from Matilda's corner where Behemoth ultimately ended up, Behemoth managed to get its scoop stuck on top of the arena wall. Cue and Mr. Psycho hammering. Behemoth ultimately got free, but drove into every single arena wall because there was no control anymore, before ultimately stopping dead. The 10th seeds were counted out. So, Mute was through to the heat final to face Judge Shred 3. In the heat final, both robots had a hard time finding an angle of attack, but Judge Shred 3 got closer to flipping Mute than the other way round. Mute got some slams in, but Judge Shred 3 flipped Mute over. Mute had a hard time self-righting. His flipper had too much power, and it just landed upside down again. With help from Judge Shred 3, Mute managed to self-right, but it did end up getting a flicking on Judge Shred 3, only to get flipped twice more. It self-righted the first time. It didn't need to the second time. It landed on its wheels. After another flip, in which Mute had a time self-righting again, Mute flipped Judge Shred 3, which had slowed down after the flip. Okay, it landed on its wheels and had no need of self-righting, but it was going to be in trouble soon. So Kilowatts opened the pit, and Judge Shred 3 got one last flip in on Mute as time ran out and the judges were called in. They ruled in favour of Mute. He must have gained a lot of points from the self-righting. So now in the series semi-finals, Mute faced another front hinge flipper, the second seed, Firestorm 5. Mute drove over Firestorm 5 early on in a bid to recreate Panic Attack vs Cassius, but Firestorm 5 flipped Mute. Mute landed on its wheels. The second flip turned Mute over, and Mute struggled to self-right. Well, I say struggled, I actually mean Mute failed to self-right. So Firestorm 5 put Mute so close to the edge of the arena that Mute's team didn't dare self-right. Not for fear of landing outside the arena by self-righting, which would be really embarrassing. So Firestorm 5 showed up to put them out of the misery. The two robots fired their flippers at the same time, and Mute left the arena. It would go on to fight on the live circuit, but never would it return to Robot Wars. Its team would, though, with an Axbot named Bonk. Mute was a good robot, but it did get lucky. I think it got staved by style points quite a few times. Not with Mr. Nasty, though. It could have benefited from having a way of controlling the amount of gas used in each flip, so a larger amount used for flipping the opponent and a smaller amount used for self-righting. That flipper, particularly in Series 7, the dial was up to 11 and stayed there. Now, did next week's robot get any luck? Who will be the last robot I talk about in 2021? This one. Warhog. Until next week, Carlson244, out.